Welcome everybody to Our Voices Matter podcast, presented to you by St. Stephen's Baptist Church, young adults and college age ministry. We're so glad that you are here with us. We want to welcome everybody who's joined us via the world, social media, wherever you're watching from. We want to welcome you into this space and this time. And listen, we're going to have a great conversation. So I want y'all to just lean back or lean in, whatever you do, whatever's your posture. But we're going to have fun. And we're going to have a great conversation. And I've been looking forward to this conversation with my brother, Charles Burker. Man, thank you so much for being here. Can everybody give him a clapping hand just for being with us today?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, there's the volume.
Yeah.
Gotta get the pitch in.
Yeah.
There we go. How's that? Thank you, brother.
No problem. So when I was envisioning this podcast with my team, first of all, let me shout out my team. Some of y'all here today. I appreciate y'all, all the leaders of the Young Adult College Age Ministry. I want to also shout out Rev Dante Jackson, who's here with his kids, man. Appreciate your support. He is the director of campus ministries here at Simmons College of Kentucky. So we actually co-teach Bible study every week. And so, man, I just appreciate you, man. Love you, man. Seriously. Listen, we're going to get straight into it. Charles, man, let me give y'all a little bit of a background because a lot of people don't know me and his relationship. So I grew up with Charles Booker. Not even say grew up, but I kind of came behind him. I was kind of coming behind his toes, looking up to him in the house as he was going in high school, going to University of Louisville. So I always looked up to him. And so I want to say this, man. I consider you literally an icon. You are such a big voice in our city, in our state, and in our nation. And, a lot of times people don't realize the greatness that they come in contact with sometimes, because sometimes we're so close to it that we don't recognize it. And so, man, I just want to let you know that I recognize your greatness, and I know that God's got so much in store for you. And I'm going to testify just real quick. A few months back, before I came to St. Stephen's, I was going through a really difficult time in my life, personally. And from the outside looking in, it seemed as if it was the best time of my life. Me and my wife had just had our newborn son. I had just graduated with my Master of Divinity. Things seemed like they were going well. And then I had, was on the verge of getting this job in conversation with Dr. Cosby, but there was so much going on the inside of me. I don't know if y'all have ever been there before, but it seemed like the world can look at you and say, man, everything's going great. They got a beautiful family, he's got a job, he's got this, he's got that. But on the inside, man, I was in the wilderness, y'all. And I was going through it. And I hit up this man and text him. And he said, come see me. And so I drove up to Frankfurt, went to the governor's office, and we sat down, man. And I just bawling my eyes out and was crying and like, Charles, this and that. And he really didn't say anything. He just listened. Just was a listening ear. And I just want to say, man, I appreciate that because, and the reason why I want to tell that story, not necessarily about me, but just about your character, that, a lot of people don't really know. They see Charles, they see these other politicians, but, a lot of times people say, well, that isn't the real person, or, they kind of question politicians' integrity and things like that. But, man, you are the real deal. You are the real deal. And so I appreciate you for even just coming here and supporting me, man. And I can't even, the definition of love is that when someone does something for you, knowing that you really can't really pay them back. And so I appreciate you, man, just coming here and being here and spending this time with us. But I want to ask you, my first question is, how is Charles, man? Like, how are you doing? What have you been up to, you know?
First of all, I'm so proud of you. I'm grateful for this ministry. I count it as a privilege to be here. I am deeply, deeply honored that God has seen fit to give me the chance to lend a voice and to add some value in any way that I do. And, before this clip from the documentary, award-winning documentary From the Hood to the Holler was shown, if you haven't seen the whole thing, you got to watch the whole thing and be ready to cry. I cry every single time. It captures some of a really unprecedented journey. And I can say it. I've lived it, but then I'm able to step back and say, man, I'm doing something that my ancestors may not have thought of, or maybe they did, which is why I'm doing it. But I am healing. That's how I'm doing.
That's awesome, man.
And I feel good to say that, because we are all on a journey to pursue our purpose and to make a difference in this crazy, crazy world. And it's hard. And it is absolutely exhausting, especially when you step out there. Because when you step out front, you get all the arrows, you get all the blows, and it, as rewarding as it is very heavy. And I've had the chance, after losing on the biggest stage, to realize all my victories and to look at myself and to go to therapy.
Yeah.
And to
snap on that one.
Oh yeah. Every room I'm in every space, I talk about taking the time to look at yourself and to reckon with the ills and the traumas and the pain, the things that you might try to avoid and run from. And I'm better. Even after those knockdowns, I'm better.
Yeah. And I know you're probably wondering, like, why did I choose to show that particular clip? Is because, let me say this. Part of the reason why I said my testimony earlier about when I went to the Capitol and was in the governor's office talking to Charles, crying my eyes out, was that I did not know that at that time you were going through so much. And I didn't know, I had no clue, and so, and that's why it just made me appreciate it so much more. But also, I think as Christians, as young people who are trying to navigate this world, as we try to advance our careers, as we try to reach our goals, as we try to grow in our own walk with Christ, growing up, we were taught a lot about God is going to bless you and God's going to bless you with this and that, but we hardly ever talk about God, what do you do when you get knocked down? We never really talk enough about, okay, you are going to win some battles, but you're also going to lose some battles too. And so if we don't start talking about how do we respond when we get knocked down, or how do we respond when things don't go the way we wanted to go, what do we do then? Yeah. And so I think this is such a pivotal conversation that we need to have with young people, because they need to be prepared. They need to know how to take a punch and still keep on ticking. Yeah. Because those are moments in our life where when our faith is tested the most, that we need to understand that really God has never really called us. He never said that you're going to win, you're going to win, you're going to win. As a matter of fact, if we are following Christ, there are going to be moments where we feel like we're losing, and we're losing a lot. And, the thing is that what we're trying to do here in this conversation is give voice to that sentiment, to those moments in our life where if we're more honest and we're more vulnerable, because there's ministry in vulnerability. There's ministry in saying, I got my heart broken, or I didn't get the job, or things didn't go well. There's ministry in that, and if we could be more honest and show as well as the good side, but also the bad side, because I believe it's more of the moments where we're in the valley that will minister to people and to say to them, if I can make it through, you can make it through also. And so that's what I love about where you are today, because when you said that I'm healing, that speaks directly to me, because if I'm honest, I'm healing too. Yeah. I'm healing. I'm going to therapy. I'm praying and saying, God, work on me.
Right.
Work on my heart, work on my mind, so that I can make sure that I am healthy as possible.
Right.
Because hurt people hurt people.
Oh, yeah.
Broken people break people. And so we got to do a better job at just speaking to young people in terms of, where they are in life, because they haven't lived enough to know that when life goes down, it can go back
Yeah, there's
up.
Another side.
Yeah, there's another season that's coming.
That's right.
Right? The joy will come in the morning, right? And so I ain't trying to preach, but y'all know.
Look, hey, I'm a witness.
But we want to know, do you have any plans for the future? Like, do you plan on getting back in the political field, or what are you doing advocacy-wise? Can you just tell us a little bit about what your plans are, or what you're doing right now?
Yeah, and where I'm at now really speaks to what you were teeing up, which is really important when we're trying to engage the democratic process, and we are confronting systems that are not designed to honor our humanity at the local, state, and federal level. The whole journey of bending the arc that Dr. King spoke about. This is generational work. A lot of the wins that we're going to get, we won't see them. And we have to be able to continue to press through that reality and fight urgently for change right now, knowing that we're in this for the long haul. So even when you step out and it is not as successful as you want, how do you push through? What's the next move? How do we keep the movement going? And so, when people ask me, are you going to run again? I've never stopped. I'm running for my life. I can't stop. I don't know what else to do but to keep running, whether that means I'm in elected office or wherever I'm at. And now I'm in the governor's office, one of his advisors over the Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives. So it's given me a chance to take a lot of my passion on organizing, which is really for me about social and structural change, ending poverty, uprooting racism. It won't happen solely through government. Government is a big part of the problem, but we have to be in every venue if we are going to change the system. So this gives me a chance to be in the highest office in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, carrying this same message all over Kentucky. How do we make sure that all the budgetary decisions that are made, all the programs, all across state government, so I get to bug all of them, all the cabinet secretaries, commissioners, to say, are we making sure communities that are ignored are being listened to? Are we making sure the programs that are designed to engage young black men and boys are actually doing it? And to step from that, the other thing that I'm continuing to do is support and advise Hood to the Holler as an organization. So after the documentary, the theme from the Hood to the Holler was a rallying cry. Growing up in the church, preacher kid, call and response. From the hood to the holler. You know what it is. And so it fell on my spirit as this way to tell this story of us coming together. And it doesn't stop, and it isn't defined by a campaign. It's a way of life to me. It's the spirit of the Rainbow Coalition. So I'm still working to support this org. I've stepped down formally, but as an advisor of this org I founded, they are training people to be citizen lobbyists and to organize out in the mountains. Folks that have never voted before. When we got the executive order for restoration of voting rights, Hood to the Holler has been helping people, one, to know they got the rights back, and two, to understand why they should use it. Because a lot of people don't vote because they don't see the point in it. They're too busy trying to survive. They don't think anything's going to change anyway. All these politicians are corrupt, and they're not lying. At least the overwhelming majority of them. And so we're doing that day in, day out, relational organizing on issues that people care about. So building infrastructure. And should I run for office, or should anybody in this room or anyone watching run for office, we need to have infrastructure in place that supports regular people, because the current power dynamic doesn't care a lot about regular folks, especially if you don't have a lot of money in your pocket. And that's not a partisan statement.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I've been thinking about is, we've gone through so much, since the pandemic, and I don't know about y'all, but it seems like everything's kind of been a blur.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out like where we've been and where we are and versus like where we're going. I feel like we're still trying to pick up the pieces because, in America always has these moments where it seems like we're coming to a reckoning where we've like we're on the cusp of making some type of progress, and then America backslides. And how, there's so much that young people are disappointed in. And so I guess my thing is like, my question is, do you feel like it's only a matter of time before we have another movement like Black Lives Matter? Because I just feel like nothing really changed substance-wise.
Yeah. Not only did things not change in a very generational, deep, meaningful way, there has been some progress, but in a lot of ways we've seen a regress, where there was this heightened response and a sense of accountability from corporate folks and allies, across the country. We're like, okay, we got to do something here. And in the years since, there's been such a dramatic retreat from that. And not only a retreat, a sort of fortifying of a resistance to addressing inequity now. Now, not only are they shutting down DEI departments, they're looking to ban books like my own book, and so in some ways, to see the aggressive assault of white supremacy on our pursuit of progress it's been a lot. I mean, it's been exhausting, and it is disheartening. And so I understand when young folks, young at heart folks, if you're breathing and you're frustrated, all of us are just scratching our heads and asking, where are we going from here? I do think that another movement, and I don't want to define it in that sense, the movement hasn't stopped. We are on a continuum. We are a part of something that's bigger than us, and it just rears up in different iterations over time. I do think that the type of inflection point that happened when Breonna Taylor's door was busted down, the likelihood of those types of scenarios is only increasing. Will we respond in the same way? I'm not sure. A lot of people who protested in the year plus since have grown weary. There are a lot of folks that are still fighting. I've lost some folks, that suffer from depression out of the reality of how painful all of this is. But what I do know is we are the change, and we are still inevitable. So although the movement might look different, it's still alive, and we're proof of it. So I have hope. The fact that I can tell that I'm getting stronger in my own life gives me hope. The fact that there are people that are still fighting the good fight and calling out injustice when they got every reason to just feel like there's no point, that gives me hope. And whether it looks like us marching in the street, there'll be more marching. There will be more marching. But whether it looks like the marches or more of us running for office and taking leadership ourselves, it needs to look like that too. We're coming. And whoever's watching now, I hope you feel it in your spirit. Be a part of that mantra, that statement. We are coming. We are inevitable. We will uproot racism. We will end poverty. I know we will, because I know who God is. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's worth a clap every day of the week.
Yeah. Yes, sir. So I guess my next question is, you know, we're in the state of Kentucky, and I think part of this feeling of nothing will change or will things ever get better is due to this perception that Kentucky is a red state, that you know, we see the supermajority in the state at the state level. What would you say to the young people that say that, like, you know, yes, we can still affect change, and we could do that through multiple avenues, but where do we start? You know.
Well, you know, when people say Kentucky is a red state, in some respects, I understand what they're trying to say, but that is very short-sighted. Kentucky is a disenfranchised state. It is a disheartened state. It is an exploited and often abandoned state. Most folks don't vote. We don't really have a clear picture of where we are in our political power because a lot of it is on the table, you know? And so I think when we can understand we have way more power than we utilize, way more power than we may be aware of, and there are a lot of structural societal reasons. There are folks that are working hard to make sure we don't realize our power. So it's not just like we have this power and we don't want to use it. A lot of us don't even know where to start. So to your question, start where you're at. Start with what you care about. That's how I got into politics, because I'm in these rooms, but it's funny to me because I'm like, man, I ain't nothing like none of this stuff. I'm still CJ from 35th and Market, and I'm in these spaces like, I know God has me here for a reason. I started because of growing up and seeing my mom struggle and the struggles our family went through. I was frustrated. I wanted to do something about it. And I started looking into the issues of abandoned houses and all the violence, you know, and we've lost a lot of loved ones. And when you start to dig into and engage the issues you care about, you'll bump into government. You're going to bump into the people with money. You'll bump into corporate interests because there is a system at play. We are not, those of us who have lived through the struggle, we didn't experience it because we're morally deficient or we're lazy. You know, there are a lot of interests that make a lot of money off of making sure that our communities stay the way they are. And as soon as we understand that dynamic and take our frustration and turn it into some true engagement, consistent engagement at the local level, starts at the local level. And then as you continue to move upstream, I've worked in every level of government, and this is why. Once I realized that the state was impacting so much of what Louisville could do to address gun violence, to address our health challenges, to address economic opportunities, I was like, okay, well then somebody got to be up there then. So I went to Frankfurt and bugged them and started interning, and then worked my way into a job. And as I continued in that space, I had mentors that said, well, Charles, if you really want to change things for the state, you know that a lot of our parameters are defined in Washington. I didn't even know nothing about D.C. I wasn't thinking about Congress. But once it was clear to me that all of this is connected, I just kept bogarting my way in. And so for everyone that's asking, like, where do I start? Start where you are. What do you care about? What pisses you off? Then the question is, well, who's impacting that? And then we engage them. That's where citizen lobbying comes in. Speaking before the Metro Council, meeting with your council member. Do you know your council member? Going to school board meetings. Do you know your school board member? State legislature, and on and on. And that's part of what Hood to the Holler as an org is intending to help empower and equip us to leverage our own power. At the end of the day, the folks in elected office, they have only the power we give them. It don't matter how much money they got. As was seen in the documentary, we were outspent like 30-1. The most well-funded campaign at that time in history. And we were able to come within just over a point without big party money, without all the national support. It was just a whole lot of regular people that realized we could do something different. So it's still possible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you tell us what you learned from your experience, specifically when you were working at the Capitol, when you were a state representative? Because, and I guess, can you give us a little insight of like what it was like to be in that position? You know, I'm just willing to go out here on a limb. Like, you might have been the only black man, you know, in the state house.
Yeah, that wasn't even a knock to. Nah, I ain't gonna do that. It's a podcast. Some of y'all knew who I was thinking of right now. I ain't say no names. It's on the podcast. But yeah, you know, at that time, I was definitely the only black person under 40. I was probably under 50.
Okay. And that's what I'm saying too. In our, as far as like young people that can identify themselves.
Oh yeah, and I was the only one in that building from the hood. Now. So I'm walking in a lot of rooms, feeling very alone. It was a very challenging experience because my humanity and my identity was often like not even considered. You know, and I'm in spaces. I'm a legislator. The other colleagues from across the state, they're legislators too, just like me. We're equal. But to have a colleague from Western Kentucky yelling me to sit down on the floor, which is in the film too, so like I said, y'all got to watch the whole thing. And then when I approached him to ask him, what did you say? His response was, you people talk too much. You all need to know when to sit down and be quiet. It required a lot of prayer. Every step I took, literally, when I'd walk in that building, I'd say, in Jesus' name, blood of Jesus, blood, every single time I walked in that building. And, you know, these venues and even engaging in the democratic process, the truth of the matter is when you're trying to change a system, even for all the right reasons, it's designed to oppose you. It's going to be hard and it's going to be taxing. It's going to compromise your spirit. There were times I walked out of that chamber and broke down crying. The time I was on the House floor and I was talking about voting rights. They were passing a voter ID law. My granddad was in hospice at the time. Granddad was in hospice. I asked him, my mom was with him. I asked him to tell me some of the things that he went through trying to vote when he was younger. And Mom wrote his response. I read his response on the House floor about having to guess a number of beans in a jar and having to go around the side to vote because black folks couldn't vote in the front. And as I talked about my grandfather who was dying at the time, to hear some of my colleagues respond like, we don't care nothing about your granddad. We don't care what y'all had to go through. It's hard. They were elected officials. People voted for them. And, you know, one of the things that gave me strength, though, every time something like that happened, someone unexpected would let me know to stay on the course. I was walking in the hallways in the annex, the Capitol, and this tall white guy came up to me. He had overalls on, like all the stereotypes, which, you know, don't believe the stereotypes. We get counted out all the time based off them. But this guy walked up and he sort of swole up. And I've gotten death threats and stuff in the legislature. So I'm thinking, is he gonna try to do something to me? He's way bigger than me. But when I got closer to him, my spirit is always to put love out there. You're gonna have to feel this love from me. Before you try to hate me, you're gonna feel who I am. And so I just treated him, how you doing, brother? And he started crying. He put his hand on my shoulder. And he's like, Charles, thank you for speaking up. I've never met someone that could speak like you and talk about things we deal with. I don't come from where you come from. I deal with a lot of the same things, and I just appreciate you speaking up for me. And this is a big guy. Tears come down his face. And I walked away from that moment like, thank you, Lord. because the victories that we think we're trying to pursue can minimize a lot of the blessings along the way. And although I ran for U.S. Senate and I didn't win the election, what I won is something I feel every day when people write me and say, because you stepped up, I'm going to create this program, or I'm going down to Appalachia, to North Carolina, when the storms hit, even after the hurricane. Folks are sending resources, and they're writing, calling me saying, I'm doing this because you let me know that we can help one another, even if we don't look the same. And I carry that with me now.
So listen, we want y'all to get engaged. For those who are watching, listen, Dr. Cosby said something a few weeks ago about whenever you are trying to build something from the ground up, whenever you're trying to start a movement, whenever you're trying to build something that's bigger than yourself, you've got three sets of people. You've got people who will listen to the vision and they will jump on. They'll hear it and they're like, I got you. What do you need me to do? Where you need me to be? And then you got your second set of people where they kind of wait, and then they see things. Okay, all right, I see they doing something, and then they jump on, right? And then you got everybody else who just jumps on the bandwagon. I want to encourage you today: don't wait. Don't wait. Get engaged with us. Follow us on social media, on Instagram and Facebook. We've got so much planned in the future in terms of at St. Stephen's, as we reach out to all the universities and colleges around the city and the state. But listen, we're going to let y'all know that Simmons College of Kentucky is our number one supporter, and we're here. And listen, y'all, don't get it twisted. We love everybody else, but Simmons College of Kentucky is the place to be. So if you're thinking about getting back in school, if you're thinking about pursuing a degree, or you want to support Simmons College of Kentucky in any type of way, email me at kadams@ssclive.org, or you want to figure out how to get involved with us, just hit us up, man. We love to have you. We'd love to have you on our team. Thank you so much. All righty. Thank y'all. All right. So we're going to move to our next session, which is we're going to have a questionnaire. So if y'all have any questions that y'all want to ask Charles, feel free. Can they come up to that mic right there? So if y'all got a question, come up to the mic, ask him a question.
And while folks are figuring out their questions, first of all, I'm an open book. I will say we need to make sure that everyone knows to check your registration. Mm-hmm. Get registered. If you're not already, October 7th is the deadline. If you need help, let me know. You can go to hoodtotheholler.org. We'll help you. We're actually getting ready to do a concert with Tyler Childers, incredible award-winning artist from Kentucky, on October 8th, encouraging people to vote. Because, like I said, a lot of people say, why vote? The folks that are making a whole lot of money off of poverty are very glad that we're questioning why we should vote. And I'm hoping that we use our power in this upcoming election. So, register, vote.
Amen. Any questions? Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question and a comment. So I think it was the video. I feel like I probably would start crying at it, kept going. But first of all, thank y'all for highlighting that, because I'm a therapist. And to hear Christians say, I went to therapy, it is, I feel like I cry now, but it is a testament, because they can go together, right? Yeah. So thank y'all for saying that. But as I was listening, what do y'all, or what do you have to say about how to, so for instance, like all the laws concerning if you're a felon, and then if you come out and there's all these years, and can I still vote? If I have a felony, how do I get it expunged? Like, what are the ways that that population of people can learn about their voting rights? Like, how are you getting that out?
So
makes sense.
I would say this: we do have a representative from the Louisville Urban League.
Okay.
So
That's
Miss
good.
Felicia, she's gonna educate us a little bit here in a second about any of those questions that we might have concerning how, what may be the barriers to voting, what do we need to do in order to understand the obstacles and how to get around those. So we're gonna put her up here just a
Okay.
second. Yes, ma'am. But Charles, if you want to answer that,
like,
you can.
what your
Yeah,
thoughts about that?
I was definitely going to tee up the Urban League because the Urban League has been doing expungement clinics. I filed legislation for automatic voter registration and expungements, and we've made progress on the expungement front, but there's still a lot of work to do when we were trying to get rid of the fee involved. So definitely would want to connect with Louisville Urban League, can give you some more information there. And beyond that, on issues like our loved ones who have been involved in the justice system, that are trying to re-enter society, that have a lot of challenges that may go unheard, unaccounted for. That's why we have to be citizen lobbyists too. Because a lot of the policies that will happen in Frankfurt, certainly in Washington, local level, they come because people raise their voice. And it may feel like that. It doesn't happen that way, but I'm telling you, a lot of the ideas that turn into legislation is because people raise their voices. And you may even want to use your personal story to testify before a committee, or to call your legislator, or to send emails, or to use social media to engage the local news outlets. There's all these different touch points that ultimately we have to tell the story of what's happening to us and why changes are needed. And again, that's part of what I'm trying to do with Hood to the Holler.
Charles, man, what y'all don't know is we went to college together.
Yeah,
Man,
I'm
I'm
the
so-
one with grades though. What happened?
I got him out in it. I'm so proud of you, man. I was in Illinois, and I was watching everything you did, just throughout everything. But man, so proud of you.
Thank you.
Question, and this is something I've noticed about you, and I want to hear. I guess I want to know what have been the drawbacks, if any. But it's not common for politicians to bring up faith. And when they do, I won't go down that path, but it's not common for politics, especially bring up faith in the way that you do. How has that, or has it at all been any repercussions for the way that you bring up faith as a way to actually promote liberation and action, right? Like, has that hurt you any? Or has it only been a graceful walk using that?
It's only helped me, because I am very adamant about my faith. It's the foundation of who I am. It's why I'm here. I'm very clear on that. But I don't beat people over the head with it. I show up with humanity at the front of my thoughts, and it's okay for you to disagree with me. I don't need you to feel and believe everything I believe for me to fight with everything in me for you. And when people know that's what you bring and where you're coming from, and you're straight up with them on that, you build trust. People can respect you, and that was one of the ways I've been able to do all of this, really crazy stuff. I had folks with Trump signs and Booker signs in their yards, and this. I'm telling you, and when I saw this, I said, okay, I'm on to something here, because I don't back away from who I am in any room. I'm gonna give you the same thing in every room I'm in, but I also make it clear that I love you. I'm here because I love you, And when people feel like you genuinely care, I think that's one of the things that the governor has been able to do, where a lot of people have appreciated it. It wasn't really a policy; it was just him showing that he cares. When those storms come and through the pandemic, it's sad that it's a rarity for people to just treat you like you matter. And then when they know that I'm treating them like they matter because of my faith, they just respect the fact that I'm showing up that way. And in this role I'm in, I'm dealing with folks with Jewish faith, Muslims, Buddhists. I was just at a Buddhist temple, and to be able to step into these spaces and honor their humanity, and they know that, and still be true in who I am, it builds relationships, because ultimately at the end of the day, everything we do is about relationships. community organizing is about relationships. A functional government that accounts for us is about the quality of relationships and the fabric of our society. And so, yeah, it hasn't hurt me, you know. And I know God got me. You know, I was in the hollers. I was in East Kentucky. That was in some sundown towns. So I was canvassing in sundown towns where they had the black jockeys in the yard, Confederate flags, and I knocked on these doors. We didn't even pull a list, and some of that is in the document, but we didn't explain all that. We didn't pull a list because you can pull the list of people who are registered Democrats and who vote in so many elections. We didn't pull a list. We just got out and started knocking on doors, which is very, very dangerous. If you're looking to run for office, I wouldn't advise you to do that, but I felt in my spirit, just get out and do it. And so I was obedient to it. And man, the conversations I had, folks with Confederate flags in their yard, and I'm like, look, I don't agree with that, but I want you to have clean water. And people respect it. And if they don't, I had security with me, you know, so.
All right. Yeah, how you doing? I'm on Kevin's team. I have a question for me personally and for a couple of people like I'm around, especially when you're in a system that just wants to keep you down. You have history, you've seen, you know, people who look like you fight, but you're just not too sure about what your place is and what the future holds. How do you go about being that change that you want to see? How do you go about helping the people around you? You know, that's really my question, is how do you go about being that change you want to see and helping those people in that system?
Yeah, you know, the first thing and the constant thing I do is honor that reality. I'm never going to be someone that capes for the political parties. I'm just not going to do it because I know the reality that people are dealing with. And so honoring the frustration, honoring the fear is really important, because if people think you're BSing them, you're going to lose them anyway. So I show up in that. But then also in terms of how do you help others, how do you show up, how do you shine your light for change in these times, it starts with loving on yourself and really committing to be the best version of yourself. I didn't appreciate that early on. I just thought I was on a mission for others, and I had to reckon with myself along the way. And ultimately, if we are all on a journey to be the best version of ourselves, it will translate into how we treat other people. It will translate into how we run our businesses and how we're serving in leadership across the board. So it's almost like, you know, if the plane is going down, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first dynamic. A lot of us who are organizers and in the activist space don't always put the oxygen mask on. And so there's a lot of burnout. You know, so part of how I've been able to keep going and not burn out is I'm real about that. And after I lost in 22, you know, first Black Kentuckian to be a nominee for U.S. Senate, you know, the whole country, everybody watching like, okay, well, what's he gonna do this time? And to see all the ways that I fail, I took time to tend to myself and to give myself grace. You know, and so I would encourage everybody in the space to do that, and then it's show up over and over again, over and over again. We get knocked down, we coming right back. We calling for change. They ain't hear us. That's cool. We gonna keep calling for it. We gonna keep showing up. I say hate gets up every day. We gotta get up too. And I don't know what the future holds. I don't assume that the changes that I want to see happen will happen at any point in my lifetime. All I know is that if I wake up tomorrow, I'm fighting for them. And anybody that's in opposition to that is going to have to deal with me. And if we all feel like that, it's more of us than it is them.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Charles. Appreciate it. Well, this concludes this portion of it. We're going to move and talk to Miss Felicia. from the Urban League. First of all, thank you so much for coming.
No problem.
We really appreciate you being here. So could you educate us on, first of all, if we don't know if we're registered or not, how do we find out if we're registered to vote?
So the first thing I want to tell everybody, get out their phone, go to their web browser, and I want you to go to lul.org/vote. And that's the Urban League's voting page. And it has all the information, all the places that you need to know about. So it's going to have at the top of that page, I'm looking at the web version, obviously, and it's giving you a lot of different options here at the top. Young lady asked about voting rights restored. There's a database that the state has provided if your rights have been restored through the process that the governor used through executive order. You can enter your name in there or your loved one's name and find out if their rights have been restored. There are links on this page about where to find out if you're registered. It's easy. You really just go to the Bobby Holzclaw's office, her website. She's got a big long tab of things at the top. There's one that says vote, and you can see where if you're registered. You have to put in your name, your last name, first name, last name, and your address, and it'll show you if you're registered. You also need to know that you need to be registered at the address you currently live at. So if you've changed your address any time in the last, you need to go correct it. So you'll go to the right precinct, because they could say, well, you don't live in this area anymore, your ID doesn't match the voter rolls, and they can suppress your vote and tell you to leave. Now, you can always ask for a temporary provisional ballot, but don't go through that. Get it checked now, make sure your address matches everything, okay? Also on the website, we have all the activities that we're doing, as well as the Souls to the Polls.
That's great.
But I'll let you ask. Yeah, I'll let you ask.
I was going to get to that.
Yeah,
Yes,
go
ma'am.
ahead, go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So for those of us who are engaged, locked in, like we done already planned our vote, and we're like stressing, we got a lot of anxiety, because I know I do. I don't know about y'all, but because I'll be honest. A lot of people, when I was telling them about, one of the first podcast topics that I wanted to do was voting rights. And they were kind of like, oh, Kevin, that ain't gonna bring the young people out. That's not sexy. That's not, that's not hip. But I just feel like I wouldn't be doing my duty as a citizen, as a leader who is conscious and engaged on what's going on if I did not prioritize this conversation at the start, especially we are in election season. And so what I wanted to ask you is kind of what my man Jayden asked earlier is like, how do we help others? How do we, in terms of like getting them engaged, getting them involved? So I know we've got Souls to the Polls. Can you tell us a little bit, first of all, what is Souls to the Polls? Okay. And how can we get involved with that?
Okay. So Souls to the Polls is a thing that they do all across the country. It is basically you are mobilizing all the churches in the black community to go vote early. And they didn't have early voting in a lot of states, but once the pandemic came, a lot of states had started to adopt it. Kentucky adopted it. So we have early voting days. So we have about 16 churches, I think. St. Stephen's is a part of it. We're actually having a rally at St. Stephen's that same day. But we're basically getting all of the congregations with their pastors, with their family, with their children, even as young as this young lady right here, to go to the polls. At this age, I was going to the polls with my parents. And that's how you begin a habit. If they see you going every time it's an election time, they think that is what you are supposed to do, and they will continue to do it. And I really encourage people to bring children that age and older and teenagers to participate with you, because it makes a habit. And so we all want everyone to early vote on November the 2nd. at all of the different, on the website, there's a list of early voting places, and you can all go. You don't have to worry about lines. You don't have to worry about where you got to go. It's open. It's an open voting location. You can vote anywhere. On those at early voting day, you don't have to vote at your particular precinct, and get it out the way, right? It's Thursday, Friday, and Saturday before election, and that next week would be the election on Tuesday.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Just for clarification.
Go ahead.
So you said that if we vote early, we don't have to vote in our particular precinct?
No. That way you can just go into, I think down here in the West End, the African American Heritage Center is one of the early voting places.
Okay, that's
Okay?
good. I
So
did
you
not know
just
that.
show up there, vote, and we're actually gonna have people stationed there on voter day because it's not for regular elections, right? People show up there, and we gotta be like, no, you gotta go to your polling place, and we, have Black Lives Matter with Chanel Helm, and some of our volunteers possibly are gonna be there to say, hey, don't go here, you need to go to the right place, because we don't want to lose that momentum
That's very important.
of somebody.
Because I've been sent.
Yeah.
Last time I voted, I got there and they were like, "Oh, you're not supposed to vote here. You're supposed to go vote." But the crazy thing is that was closer to my house, and they were sending me farther away, and I was
Right.
like, "No, but I'm a vote though."
Right, you
know what I'm
gotta
saying?
keep on it.
Yeah,
There's always ways to suppress the vote.
Now we talked about in our conversation when me and you were talking a couple weeks back that there would be opportunities for young people to help canvass.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So at the Urban League, we have a whole GOTV campaign. It starts in September and ends on Election Day. So every Wednesday, in fact, we did it yesterday, at the Urban League, we're going to do text banking, phone banking, or a postcard party. So you can come in, you use your cell phone, download an app, and text people. We'll give you numbers, right? The next thing you can do is we're sending out postcards to people. You write a message, hey, really enjoy, I think voting is important. I hope you do too. And then we will mail them to a list that we also have. We also have the opportunity to do canvassing on 11/2 at the Urban League. If you want to volunteer, you just go on the website I gave you at the very bottom. Or actually on the Souls to the Polls tab, it'll show you all the events that we have. I am actually going to also do a Politics Explained if people want to understand politics. Obviously, the Louisville Urban League is a nonpartisan organization, but I can still explain to you the process and questions you've always wanted to know about American democracy and the political system.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I wanted to answer the
go ahead.
question
Yeah,
that
go
you
ahead.
asked me about
Yes.
what young people can do or anybody can do. What I think that you can do is your community, your people, okay? Try to dispel misinformation. I think that's the biggest thing. Young Black men are being targeted right now by the Republican Party or by the Conservative Party or by different groups that they want to tell a lot of stories about why you should vote against your interests, basically. And I think it's important that peers, have that peer-to-peer relational organizing where you say, yeah, but did you know this? Or, that's not true. Or that's not true. That's made up. Or that's something that is meant to make you feel a certain way when the facts are something different. I think that's what's really important. Okay. I think that there's a lot of people out there trying to prey on the Black male frustration with the United States. It has not obviously been a hospitable place for any of us, but especially the emasculation, I don't mean that in a derogatory term, but the emasculation of the Black man to not be able to take care of his family, take care of his children, start a business, do all the things that he wants to do. And so they're preying on that. Oh, you've been with them that long, try us. Think about, this is the way I got taught it. We've always had to vote for the lesser of two evils. We've never had a choice where that person running for office loves us to pieces. We've never had a chance to vote for someone who was going to put themselves on the line for us. That's never been the case for African Americans. We have always voted our interest and voted for the person who was gonna that we could talk to and wouldn't kill us that day. Right? And that's just the way it is. The person who's gonna maybe kill us next week, slowly kill us, whatever. But there's some people out there that want to kill you as soon as they look at you, right? And you want to stay away from those people, right? You want to be with somebody at least that will listen, that will at least you can talk to, at least you can try to negotiate, at least you can move. They're not perfect. None of them are perfect. But you want to be able to talk to someone. And there's a side that don't want to talk to you at all. So that's how you choose a candidate, not based on personality, not based on looks, not based on money or wealth or any of that. You vote for that person. Are they going to vote your interests, and are you able to negotiate with them? Because you're not really voting your values. I hate to tell y'all that. You're not really voting your values. You're voting for someone to lead the country for the next 4 years who is leaning in the direction you want them to lean the country to. Right? That's pretty much it. And all the hires they will make. They get to hire about 5,000 people. Okay? And when they hire those people are going to be leaning that way as well. Right? So I encourage everyone to think about that when they consider who they're voting for. The last president put in 3 justices that basically, I'm a lawyer by trade. I've been working at the Urban League for the last 2 years, but he put on the Supreme Court 3 people who are extremely out of step with the rest of the United States. They're very conservative. They believe in a government where the president has ultimate power, the most power, and outweighs the other branches. We all remember in civics class where we should.
Co-equal.
Yeah, there's co-equal branches. No one branch is supposed to be more strong than the other, and there's supposed to be checks and balances on each other's power. They don't believe that. They think the president should have all the power. And this country was started by those first white people because they didn't want a king. And I don't want a king either.
No.
Right? So just remember that when you're considering. You're voting for issues. I like what Charles said when he said, find out what bothers you, and then see who believes what you believe, right? It's that simple, right? I had to, just one last story.
Yeah, go ahead. You preaching. Go ahead.
Is that I had a friend who was a police officer. I know a lot of police officers. I used to be a prosecutor. Don't throw tomatoes. And the officer is in the police union, right? He didn't understand that one side is completely anti-union and one side is completely pro-union. I had to explain to him, well, why would you vote for these people? They don't like unions. They want to union bust. They don't think you should be able to collectively bargain for your pay. They don't believe in worker protections. They don't believe in OSHA, which is the, safety.
Keep you safe.
Keep you safe at work. They don't believe in overtime. Like there's, and then he started listening. He was like, wait a minute, overtime, right? So it's the things those are the things you have to look at, right? The issue, right? And then whoever says, oh, these are our issues, this is our platform, this is what we're for, vote for that person. Who cares what they look like? Who cares if they come and talk to you? Who cares if they kiss your, you know what? You got to vote for the person who's going to lean the country in the direction you want to, and you can negotiate with. So I think it's important.
Well, can y'all give her a clap of hand? Well, y'all, listen, this concludes our first podcast. I'm so excited about the others to come. I appreciate your support and coming out. I hope y'all have a safe drive home. See y'all next time. Peace out.